Hey everyone, it's Jonathan from Motor Psychology. For the new viewers, welcome, and also for the returning viewers, welcome back, and thanks so much for your continual support. It is greatly appreciated. So in today's video, it's going to be about installing the new radiator core support on the C3 Corvette. It's a long time coming. I've had this product for maybe 18 months to 2 years, so I've been waiting to install it after I got all the other stuff done. Anyway, I took my time to show you some of the more interesting components of the core support because you don't often get to see those, so I thought I'd highlight those, and just a step-by-step process on how to get this done at home if you decide to do it. Ultimately, it's a big job. There's lots of things that you have to remove prior to even putting in the core support, and my previous videos have highlighted that, so if you haven't seen those, check them out and see what I did to get those out. So let's move forward, hopefully earn your subscription, and let's see how it goes. There's the old core support right here. We don't need this anymore, so this is going out in the scrap metal. And this particular one I got from Corvette Central, and I'm just going to open it and have a look at it. Lots of great packing material, and out comes the brand new core support, which incidentally, the core support are around $500. Okay? So they're not cheap, but they're essential as well. So let's pull this one out, have a look. Should be a perfect fit, I hope. What I'm going to reuse is these little guys here. So these are radiator cushions. So the radiator will actually sit on this thing. And they go in these little holes here. That's perfect. I found the other radiator cushion that goes in the core support. This is from the old one. It'll go right in the end over there. So here's the new Corvette core support that I've had for a few years, and I'm getting ready to put this in finally. So it should be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to measure it just for everybody's interest here. We're looking at a part that is 32.5 inches wide and at least 24 inches high. So I'll show you a few things that I have. Here's the radiator core support to frame bolts. These things go on the bottom of the core support and mount it to the frame. And the places where these thread into are already part of the Corvette frame, so I'll show you that. I don't know if you can actually see it here, but you can see where that bolt would go through at the very bottom. But I'll show you outside anyway. There should be 6 of these. Well, I guess they're saying 18 pieces. That includes the shims. I don't know if I'll need the shims because I didn't have any shims. So these go on the side, and I'll show you where they go in. And it's all threaded on the core support anyway, so it's not a big deal. So these large bolts will thread up into these things here. So they work there, and there's one way over here as well, which I'll show you. Right over here. And that's on the other side there. So collectively you've got one here and you've got one down here, and I'll show you the ones on the side right now. So on the side here are 3 mounting sections. It's identical on the other side, and it's these little bolts here that will go through there and attach it. So from a part perspective, and then also having the attachment bolts, it looks like it's going to be pretty straightforward. I do remember when I took the old one out that it was such a tight fit on the sides that I actually cut it in half. So I don't know what to expect with this one, but it's time that I get this in the Corvette so I can start putting the cooling system together and get this car up and running. I wanted to profile a little bit more about this radiator core support for the C3 Corvette because A lot of times people don't actually know much about the core support or see it out that often, so it's a good opportunity just to highlight it. So weight wise, it's probably about 10 to 15 pounds. Doesn't seem too heavy. It's made out of obviously metal, but pressed sheet metal that's spot welded along the seams. And if you look at your C3 Corvette, you'll be able to see the top of this area here. I do have the old rubber bottoms for the rad support, which supports the radiator, and they just act as a vibration damper, I guess would be a good way of saying it. So these things, if you don't have them, they are available, but they're not cheap. So I'm glad I pulled these off my old core support, and they just go on through a hole in the bottom there, and this type of thing just expands and then fits around it. And you can use kind of like a screwdriver to go in there and then push this up and in, and then let it go, and it will then retract and stay on the core support, which goes right there. So I'm probably going to put these things in. I've cleaned them up. They still look old, but you don't actually see them when they're on the car, and I'm happy to use stuff that is original anyway. So this is the hole on the bottom that I'm referring to, where the rubber supports go for the radiator. So I'm going to stick those rubber things in right now and show you how to do that. So with the liquid, I just want to put a little bit on there. It just makes it more slippery, I guess, to get it in. And got the other one going here. Just put that on, and that should be good enough to allow it to slip into that hole over there. And equally, there's a hole over here too, that side. So let's get around to putting that one in on this side. So we're looking down here, and I'm just pushing this through. I may need another screwdriver to help get that part through. All right. Okay, you can see here where that has made its way through, and looks like it's pretty much through. You can pull it through once you get most of it done. There we go. Perfect. That one's on there. So now we're down on this side, and we're going to put the rubber stop in there. Same idea. And you grab this guy, put it through this hole. There we go. Here we are on the back side. That's in perfectly, so totally happy with that. And now we can move on to getting this thing outside and installed. Another points to look for is it's got good drainage holes on the tray. And another thing to consider is not all the C3 models have the identical radiator core support. So make sure that you get the core support that matches the year of your Corvette, or it's not going to fit properly. So that's another area of concern. So I wanted to mention that when this core support is in, because it goes between the two sides of the car, it provides a little bit more stability to the front end of the car. So without the core support, it's a little more wobbly, but the core support just keeps things in balance a little bit better. So that's it. Looking forward to getting this thing on the vehicle and then getting the radiator in. I kept the original radiator. I've also bought a new one. I'll be installing the new one and maybe getting the original one repaired as well. So that's that. So let's see what happens in the next step. So here we are. This is where the rad core support goes in here. That would be the top bolt. We've got a middle bolt area down here somewhere. I think it's right in there. And then the final one is down there. So everything is good to go. And I'm going to start putting that in. So I'm going to try and get the core support in there right now. Hopefully I can just lower it down. So this has multiple challenges here. It's such a long reach into the engine bay. This thing has a certain amount of weight and it goes in at a pretty sharp angle and it's a tight space. All of which kind of come together to make this a interesting challenge. Take a little bit of finagling, I think. I was totally expecting it to be a tight space and am actually pretty happy that it's fitting in there as snugly as it can. So I don't have any doubts that I can get it worked in position. It just takes a little bit of time and alignment. A few things are in the way. So I left this in without too many edits. This is pretty much the real timing on this as far as how long it takes to get this thing in place. So I think what I notice and keep forgetting is this radiator is on a crazy angle when it goes in. So looking at the core support, it's got to get into that angle, which is not a very big space at all. So it's about trying to fit this pretty large item into a tight space with a wicket angle towards the engine. So a little bit of alignment, but once you get it in place, you're good to go. So we're slowly getting it in place here. A few little snag areas. But I've only been working on it for about 5 minutes, so I got to go underneath the car and line up the bottom, so that's what I'm going to do. So I think this job would have been a little bit easier if I didn't have that great big air conditioner condenser in there. So some C3s have those condensers, others don't. If they don't have air conditioning, they won't have it. So in this case, I've got an air conditioning unit with this great big condenser, which just makes it a little bit more difficult getting this core support in place. Okay, I'm going to go underneath and try and get it lined up at the bottom. So just on the bottom here, trying to get this thing lined up. So I've got the top right in. Now I'm going to go over and put in the top left. At least that will stabilize the top of the radiator core. Just working on getting the screw or bolt through this one here, and it's getting there. It's a tight fit though. So we're making progress. We've got the top one in on that side, and way over here we've got the top one in. That at least gives me a good anchoring point so I can adjust the angle that this core support is going to be in, and then also get after the other bolts there. You can see that the air conditioner condenser is lined up here, and same with this side, so it's all nicely lined up. It's looking good. Now I got to get after the bolts below. All right, we're underneath. I got to get this part here over a little flange here. It's about flush right now, and this one is good, so I just need to pry that one over. Pry it over and somehow get it in. Kind of do like a shoehorn. So I'm up here on the top right, just shoehorning this thing in. Probably take this out. There we go. And then tap this in. So looking down the core support, you can see that I've got it more or less lined up on this thing here, and there's mounting bolts there, and the same thing over here. So we've got it lined up with this old bracket, but it's still pretty strong, and we'll put the bolt through there. Also, the super tight fit was up the side here, so it's important to keep these things back from the core support that would prevent it from fitting in at the right place. Yeah, it's looking there. We've got to put the other bolts in, but other than that. So we got the place for the second screw. It looks like it's pretty lined up with the core support, so we'll get that in, and then we'll move down to the bottom. So this is screw number, I guess, 2 on the right hand side. So we're getting this one in now, which is good. So we've got that one in, which is great. Now moving on to the same thing on the other side. All right, the number 2 is in. So time to put in the third bolt for the left side and the right side, and then the bottom bolts, which I'll show you. All right, so the core support, I've got the 3 bolts down on both sides and it's stable. I haven't done the bottom yet, but moving down to doing that. So we've got 3 of these type of screws that run all the way down here. The other one is way down here, which you might be able to see. And the other one is even further down, right at the bottom. And the same on the other one here. We got this one here. And there's another one down there. And one even further. And I'll show you in the wheel well. Got the top one up there. Middle one is the bottom one. Now we got to do these bottom ones underneath. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to climb underneath and get those ones done. So you've got this one here, maybe 2 inches long. It comes with a lock washer and also a big flat washer. So they go in here, which I'm going to do right now. That one is in loosely. There we go. Get this on. Perfect. All right, show you that up close. Here's the right side mounted. It's good to go. Now we have to move over to the left side and let's give that a try. All right, here we are on the left side and we're going to put that one in. And this one's finally going in. All right, that is in. So here's the bottom of the Corvette here. The core support is nicely bolted in there. And then over here, same thing, bolted in here and all the way up the sides. So you can see that the core support is in. That bolt is there and the other one is in as well. So here's the right side done and the left side over here. So you've got the bottom left and the bottom right is good to go. So all in all, that core support is in, and I'm just going to go up top here. So looking down into the Corvette now, you can see the entire core support in there solid, and we're good to go. Next step, putting in the radiator and attaching these and all the hoses. It's starting to have the normal profile. It's such a relief to get that core support in and move on to the next part of this project. Well, that completes the installation of the core support right here. So I'm super glad that went in with no major headaches other than what I anticipated was going to be a little bit of moving this around. It's a super, super tight fit. So once it's in, it's super snug. You just have to take your time and make sure that you get it in carefully, and you'll be okay with that. So moving forward on this Corvette, the next step is that we've got a bunch of other work to do now this is installed. So got to put in the radiator, which is coming soon, and tidy up a little bit of the bay here. I've got to install a brake line along there, which I already have. And then it's about putting the fan back on and all the belts as well to get this thing going. So this is a big step. So happy I got this in. No major issues. Good to go. Thanks so much for being here and watching these videos, and we'll catch you all back here next time.